Well, we found ourselves a skeleton spawner when I was kind of just mining in this area, and we decided to convert it into a skeleton XP farm so that I could get some bone meal as well as get some levels. So now that I actually have a way to get levels, I should be able to get Silk Touch, and hopefully eventually I'll be able to find, or hopefully I'll be able to get a villager to give me some mending. Now, it's definitely not the nicest setup. It's definitely not decorated. Just strung it all up together just to do a quick XP farm. But for the meantime, this will suffice. But one of the main issues I've been having in this world so far is I keep running out of resources. And when I'm doing this Dwarven build, one of the main things that I need is stone. So I actually found this skeleton spawner in my new area where I'm planning on gathering all my stone. So here's the spot that we're going to be building in for this episode. It's quite a big area, but it's going to work. So looking at the map though, it's pretty close to where as you can tell, I die quite often, which is why this is not a survival series. So if you ever see my levels kind of disappear in time lapses and whatnot, it's because I probably died. Yeah, I mean, look at all that. But anyways, the Dwarven city is right here. And then up here, we've got the above ground village, which will eventually try to change and transform into kind of a Dwarven trading town that's up above the city. And then right here, we've got a massive hole, which I'm going to be turning into a quarry, or in this case, a Dwarven mine. Lore-wise, we've got the Dwarven city right there, and you'll probably have some Dwarven peasants come out of the gate to kind of commute to work here. So they'll commute out to the town, and then they'll come over here to the mines. Or maybe the people in the town also help work over here, but then eventually the goods that they get from Quarry or the Dwarven mines, they'll bring it over to the trading area and trade it to all around the world, all around the map. Because eventually we're going to be trying to build other empires and other cities and civilizations. But for the meantime, we're just working on the Dwarven Kingdom. I've also set a bunch of copper out here to age because this build, we're going to be trying to use a little bit of copper as well. Well, we've already got some traders in the area. You want to mine, buddy? But this is probably going to be a pretty beefy episode because I do want to try to get the whole thing finished if I can. It's going to be quite an undertaking. But now that I got a skeleton spawner, I hopefully will be able to get Silk Touch and all that and make a few pickaxes so that I can actually, get this done quickly or as quick as possible. But I'm thinking we'll be having a few builds. One of the main builds we're going to have is probably a crane. That's one major thing you always need in a quarry or Dwarven mine in this case. But I think it'd be cool, like lore-wise, to actually have an explanation to where a lot of the stone is coming from. When you're over at the actual Dwarven city, I mean, they probably, would have mined out all of that cave over there, but the saying goes, you don't eat your meat where you make your bread. Or, that's a nice way to say it, at least. So I didn't want to really spend all of my time mining out the Dwarven city. I didn't want to, take out all of the andesite and granite and all that stuff. I didn't want to take all the resources out of the actual cave because it'll kind of demolish the landscape and I'll have to terraform it again eventually. So this way, since I just come over here, I can just gather all my resources from this area and then we can use it in our build. And then it would also explain a little bit for other cities that will be kind of exporting all this stone types for. Obviously, each city itself would probably have its own quarry, but the dwarves love digging and they probably always have a surplus of materials. But before we start to work on the actual Dwarven mine, we're gonna head back to our little Dwarven city here because we do have an enchantment set up in the area that we can try to play around with and see if we can get that Silk Touch. Eventually, I want to make a little road down this way, right around here. Rabbit. We're gonna have a road coming over here that'll kind of connect all three of these areas. That way it'll kind of be a little more immersive. We finally did it. We got ourselves the Holy Grail, Silk Touch. That's the builder's wet dream. That's the most important tool for a builder. So you can finally mine stone without having to smelt a ton of cobblestone. And I can finally get some amethyst shards if I can find an amethyst bud inside the city. I'm pretty sure there should be some just scattered about. Once I get mining, hopefully I'll be able to stumble upon one in the little Dwarven mine area. Also, don't mind the inventory. It's pretty messy. They finally actually announced the bundles, so they're supposed to be coming out of the snapshots, so I can finally have kind of some better storage space. I have yet to go get a shulker box, and in the meantime I can build some little bundles to help alleviate the atrocious inventory thing. So for the first order of business with this Dwarven mine is that we need to actually get a pathway going down into that area. Right now I've been using this water stream to kind of get down there, but it wouldn't make much sense for that to happen. So we need some area where the carts, the heavy mining carts, would be able to come up. So I'm thinking we'll have it start from around this area and we'll have it slope upwards, and then it'll come right here. So it'll blend it from this spot right here all the way down towards the actual quarry. So since this part is just going to be a little bit of terraforming, I think we'll do a little quick time lapse here. Well, it's been a few days and I finally finished terraforming. I got sick, so I haven't been able to record since I lost my voice. I feel like my voice is still a little funky right now, but I think we're just gonna power through it. Anyways, we did this little curvature right here to bring us down towards the mine now. So we have a proper means to get down without having to take a little water spout going downwards. But we used basically just, what is this, coarse dirt and regular dirt, and then some spruce planks, or some spruce slabs, I meant, to kind of bring us down towards that area. And we did add like a few little pressure plates and some stone buttons, just to add a little, just break up the stone a little bit on the floor. And then I was gonna leave the walls pretty basic and just leave it how it, you know, kind of came. It was just plain stone. But the reason why I ended up texturing it a little bit was because it felt a little out of place, and I feel like adding the texturing at least gives it a little more distinct look that kind of differentiates itself from the natural terrain. And we really just used a basic gradient. It's mostly just cobblestone and then into andesite and then some stone. But I did try to add some little bits of tuff where I imagined the shadows would come in. And then I tried doing cobble deep slate, but I'm not sure I like how that looks, so I'm probably just gonna take it out. But I imagine the sun is coming from this direction, and by kind of adding these tuff in the corners, kind of forcing a shadow. And then I do believe I did add some light gray wool up there for direct sunlight hits.
I'm not too sure about that either. I'm probably going to take that out and just leave it as a regular stone. I feel like, some people don't like using wool and blocks that don't match the terrain, and I get that. So I think the light gray wool is a little too much, so I'll probably take it out though. Coming this way though, we've got my headcanon right now is that this is the old mine that the dwarves used. So you might ask, what's the difference between a quarry and a mine? So a quarry is gathering resources from the surface of the overworld. I'm speaking as if like they use overworld in real life terms, but quarries take materials from the surface of the earth. Meanwhile, mines actually go inside, underground. So this would be, I'd consider, an old dwarven mine where they kind of come in and mine some things. I probably won't decorate it too much going down this way. It's kind of just for decoration right now. But this is where I'm planning on having my bulk stone storage. I'll probably have regular stone stuff here, and then maybe some nether, or I don't know. We'll just have bulk stone here in general. But we just used some spruce pillars and some barrels to kind of add some reinforced look to it. And then we did use some oak logs just to add a little bit of texture to the actual pillars that are supporting the cave roof. But for the quarry side, we're going to be building probably a crane right around here. And then I want to turn this big pillar into an elevator shaft that would kind of lead down into the dwarven mines right down there. It's a pretty large cave system down there. And so I'm going to kind of toy around with the idea of turning kind of steampunky or maybe more diesel punky in a creative copy of the world. Because I don't want it to clash too much. I want to keep it kind of medieval looking, but with that dwarven spin to it where they have some type of technology. I think games like RuneScape and World of Warcraft kind of do it well, where the dwarves have kind of a mechanical and tinkering ability where they have kind of machines in a fantasy type world. Also with this quarry, since it's using a dripstone cave technically, there's already a lot of these kind of brown colors. Originally doing this pathway is to kind of break up the grayness of the stone. I'm not sure if I want to keep all the dripstone here. I don't know. Let me know if you like the dripstone or not. It does kind of add a more unique vibe to the whole dwarven quarry, but I'm not too sure I'll keep it. But in the meantime, I think we're gonna start getting rid of a little more of the brown, just so that we can kind of actually differentiate the quarry from the surrounding. All this brown that's kind of just leaking into the quarry is a little distracting and kind of takes a little bit away from the quarry itself. So we're gonna knock out a lot of the dirt, and then we're gonna start building. All right, we're finally done with the build. It took me quite a while, took quite a few hours to actually finish up the build. But here it is in all of its glory. We built this little overlook here to kind of be able to see the whole area. So when you kind of just run by from the Dwarven city, you can come over here and just look at the workers' work. Kind of like a little zoo platform. But anyways, this took an absurd amount of time. And honestly, probably like 50% of the build was me managing my inventory, because it's using quite a variety of different blocks. And when you don't have any shulker boxes and all that stuff and bundles, it takes an absurd amount of time. I'm also still kind of sick, so I ended up just building it all, so I didn't have to really talk in between. I probably should have split up the builds a little bit, like spread them out, so it's not just some really long cinematic time lapse, but we're still a little sick, so we just ended up doing that. Which reminds me, do you like the cinematic building, or would you prefer things like time lapses or real-time building? The main thing with real-time building is that it does extend the video length quite long. Because, for example, this build, looking at my replay mod, it took like almost 4 hours. Obviously, there's a lot of the stuff was inventory management. When I add real-time building, it does extend the video length a lot more. And I know some people don't have the best concentration, kind of sit through like 40-minute episode. I don't know, let me know if you like building or what you want me to build in real time. I can do that a little bit. It's right now I'm trying to find the balance between, you know, time lapses and then cinematic builds, and then also trying to incorporate some real-time building in order to make it a little more interesting, because, you know, I just built this whole thing and now we're going to talk about it for like 10 minutes. You know, I don't know if people find that boring or not. But to start off, we've got this crane here used to move the goods that they get out of the quarry and from the mine. It's kind of a duel between a quarry up top and then a mine down below. But you have this crane here to kind of gather materials down there, and then it comes, picks it up. I went for a kind of a mix. It's got a little medieval aesthetic. If I had changed up the palette, it would be a little more medieval. But I wanted it to be kind of a diesel punk look. So we added a lot of browns, grays, greens, and blacks. I think that helps sells it as kind of diesel punky and mechanical. So taking a better look at it, this is where it would be kind of more medieval, where it has a stack of boulders and stuff like that to kind of help with the weight. But it's got this little pulley system at the top where it pulls the chains. It'd be able to move this up and down. And then here, it's got a little clip-on thing where it'd be able to clip onto a pallet box, you know, a box or container, and able to lift it all the way up. Maybe that wagon right there. But using some oxidized copper, I think it really sells like more diesel punk and mechanical vibe. And then tough is a great block for these mechanical type builds as well. And on the bottom here, it's supposed to be this little spinny platform where the whole body itself can kind of rotate on this black bottom right here. The black is supposed to be kind of like a track, I'd say, that can, and then the grindstone is, you know, the little wheels that can make it rotate. And then of course, we can actually go inside of it. So just gotta crouch a little bit to take a look. You can put a lever right here. Do I have one? I do. Put a lever here, and then bam. You can actually rotate and move it. But this is what one of the dwarves would be looking at. They'd be up here, moving the crane. And then here we added a little more of a medieval vibe with the little pillar supports on the side of the wall to be able to get up and down. So we use just spruce and oak, and then the barrels to add the reinforced look. Gotta crouch your head down there just to get up here. But they'd kind of climb up here, and then they'd be able to gather and mine some stone. So one of the main goals with this world is to make it very immersive. So even though I won't really be using a lot of these parts, it kind of helps add to the immersion. I do want to add a few more small things around the area, like probably add a little carts just kind of hanging out, just to make the world feel a little more lived in. Same thing here, we've got more support beams on the side of the wall, and then for this one, we actually built a little mechanical lift. So you just kind of hop in on this little platform here, and then there's a pillar supporting the winch, and then it just pulls you up. The little pulley system, maybe I don't know how the logistics of it all, but they'd be able to pull you up, and then you'd be able to go mine on those little platforms. Obviously, I don't have a way to actually get up there right now. Probably just add some ladders so that I can actually get up there in case I want to go up there for whatever reason. Bottom part is supported by these little pillars, so it didn't make it too thin with the trapdoors, but then at the top we used some trapdoors just to make it a little thinner, but then we had some support beams with the spruce fence. Speaking of immersion, we want a world where we feel lived in, right? So one of the ways to do that is when it gets dark, you actually have a sleeping spot, a little bed in the area where you can actually go to sleep. So in here, we've got a little worker's hut here, little worker building, where the tired dwarves can kind of come in here and rest. Obviously, the room is a little unfinished. I do still need to knock out the walls and then maybe decorate a little bit. I do want to have some villagers maybe in here breeding up so that I can eventually swap them into another build around the area. Where I want to have some stonemasons where I can actually trade them to get a bunch of stone variants, especially bricks particularly. So here's the interior of the little worker's hut. It's very barren, not too many decorations inside right now. But here, the dwarves would be able to come in, take a nap, and then there's a little fireplace for some cooking. I'm keeping it closed off right now. I would put a little iron fence right here just to block it off, but I've been cooking my potatoes on this campfire. And then here we've got a little simple table where the dwarven workers would come eat their lunch, eat their dinner. Box right here is supposed to be like a barrel standing on a little table for some drinks. I imagine that the dwarves are major raging alcoholics and they just drink some light ale at least during the daytime instead of drinking water. During the nighttime, they'll drink a lot stronger ale, but during the daytime, they're day drinkers. On the job as well. And here's an outside look at the dwarven little hut that they rest in. And I'm not too proud of this build, honestly, because I feel like the colors something's wrong with the colors. I feel like can't really put my finger on it. I've been kind of working and changing the colors around, and I just couldn't really get something to fit. But I also really wanted the building to stand out from the surrounding gray and browns. We opted for this diorite to help it stand out. Now, to make it look better, you could use some, white concrete and all that, but I wanted to use the diorite. A lot of people don't like diorite because it's kind of poopy looking, bird poop looking. Honestly, I do like using diorite sometimes. And then roof, we use some deep slate and some dark oak. We wanted to use some different types of wood just to help differentiate the parts a little bit more. Then below the little hut, we've got a little station where they can store some things and grab a lamp to go on with their job. But for the little covering here, we did add a little bit of variety to make it look a little more janky on this side. So a lot of unlit campfires and trapdoors. And then this is leading to, like I said, the old Dwarven mine, which will have our storage system. I started breaking down a bit of the stone here. We're going to clear out this area, and then we'll have a little spot where we'll store our bulk storage. I'll make it look a little pretty, like an old Dwarven mine. I'm currently just storing all of my stuff in the support beams here. So it's pretty ratchet, but it's what we got, man. And kind of here's where we're talking about the immersion and being lived in. We want to add a little bits and bobs, little props kind of around the area where we can make the world look a little more lived in. We've got this wagon here that is carrying some deep slate down from wherever they mine, bringing it over here for the crane to bring up. And then here we added a tower that's holding up the actual crane, and I use tuff to make it look kind of like some metal, some iron. Because, you know, iron in real life is a little more like gray than what we have right now with the shiny iron blocks. And I don't really know what I was doing with the pattern here, but I did a pattern because dwarves like pattern as well. They like geometric patterns. And then we've got, you know, a few workstations where I've been kind of smelting some things up and using the stone grinder. Here, I'll probably just add a little prop here, a little small barrel, just to add a little more life to the area. And then here we've got our little diesel punk elevator mine shaft going deep into the dwarven mines in those caves down below. This is based off of some real life like mine shafts where they've got this little support beam here holding the wheel winch to, missing some blocks there, I feel like. But we've got this wheel to help bring up the elevator shaft itself. So we use some deep slate walls to use as the chain because the regular chains are a little too small. But we did add these little support beams to help make it feel like this elevator shaft is very well supported. And so originally this was a little pillar of stone, and we just broke down the top part of it just to make it look like an elevator shaft. Now, don't mind the bottom part where it is not cleared out, because obviously this elevator carriage right here would have to go through the stone in order to get down there. But the only reason why I'm leaving the stone there is because I'm planning on having these little bubble columns, or no, it'll be just a straight shot downwards to the spot. So we'll have a deep slate, tough, and diamonds here. Then we'll have like a redstone spot and an iron spot where you can just drop all the way down, reach that little Y level where you can mine all that stuff. And then up here or down here, you'll have a bubble column coming all the way up, and then you'll be able to just pop back up. That way it's an actual working, quote, working elevator shaft. If I had create, obviously you could probably make it actually function and move, but we're working with vanilla, so we just got the vanilla function. And I really love these iron grates. It really helps add to the diesel punk and more industrial look, and the sounds are crispy. Look, those sounds are super crispy. And then we've got this man standing right here. This is a Dwarven diesel punk mech. So I don't know if anyone's read the books, The Red Rising, but the main character is what we call a helldiver. He's a miner, actually. And they've got these machines where they call claw drills, where they'll kind of grind downwards into the earth and gather materials. And I wanted the dwarves to kind of have their own. They wanted to have some mechs. You know, they're really into machinery and engineering. With technology coming about, they would be able to build some mechs where they can actually sit inside and help mine. You obviously, the mech could have some improvements here. I was missing a few things. I wanted a copper bulb here, but I had no blaze rods. And then I wanted some glass panes right here, but I didn't have enough glass. So we just had this yellow here that was left over from another build. But if you have glass panes right here, it'll help add to the little carriage part of the mech to kind of help it round it out a little bit. But the mech itself has a little claw drill right here where they would be able to drill into the stone. Obviously the dripstone can't face horizontally, so it's got to just face vertically like that. And then here we've got a furnace right here. Probably should use a dispenser because the idea is that it shoots out TNT or something like that and blasts things, blasts the stone. So yeah, it's got a little one arm to blast the stone, and then one arm with the drill to break down the stone as well. Looking at the legs though, it's kind of got this little zigzag thing. I use some stairs and some wall to help mimic that. But if you look at machines like mechs or just like Star Wars, some of the, I think it's, I forgot what it's called, but some of the machines have like these zigzag legs. Then we use some grinders to help add some little leg joints there. And then bam, you got your mech. Up top, we've got some levers and then a little lightning rod for, you know, the little mechanical parts where they detect things. The rain really adds to the ambience to this area. Makes it look so much more depressing, but that's all the time we have for today's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.